Somerset, be advised, just talked to some individuals, they heard a plane crash at Long Skyline Drive. They believe it's going to be back by the strip job.
Simple. Somerset, Dahl, Somerset units, did you copy that?
11, negative.
Two just talked to some people, and they believe they heard a plane crash along Skyline Drive. State Police, Somerset, Corporal Link.
That's from Somerset 9.
Somerset 9.
Talking to an individual right now that saw the plane.
Do we have any indication of size or anything?
It was a big plane. Couple engines.
Therefore, get all their info, please.
That's from Somerset.
Safe Place, Somerset, Corporal Link, can I help you?
Corporal Link, Glasgow.
Yes, sir.
Is that plane crash confirmed?
Yes, we have guys on scene. Somerset 1 and Lieutenant Weaver are close to the scene now, and I don't have a whole lot of information.
Okay, alert everybody that could be a biohazard and also a crime scene. We got reports that plane was hijacked out of Cleveland. Alert everybody to the biohazard.
Hold on.
Given directions the whole way down to he needs to make a turn before he gets.
United Airlines Flight 93 slammed into an abandoned strip mine in Somerset County around 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. The impact left a crater 6 feet deep and debris scattered everywhere. Witnesses say the plane was flying low and then went into a dive.
It was nose first straight into the ground.
Was there an explosion?
As soon as it hit the ground, it exploded like a big mushroom cloud.
It made like a turn, a real sharp curve, and it just went down, nose first down, and then went down behind the trees, and then after that, I heard an explosion, and up came the smoke.
No, I was not. I was driving.
This man heard the explosion and rushed to the scene. He took these pictures shortly after the crash.
3 small pieces of debris.
Did you see any victims or anything?
No.
And we're trying to keep everybody back from that crime scene until such time as we determine whether or not this is an act of terrorism. But needless to say, what has occurred in the United States today, this may possibly be.
The FBI is heading the investigation, and agents have already confiscated a 911 audio recording of a cellular call that was placed to the Public Safety Department in Greensburg Tuesday morning just before the plane crashed. The caller said he was a passenger on United Airlines Flight 93 and that the plane had been hijacked. A dispatcher told me that the caller said there was an explosion, and the phone then went dead.
We have recovered the 911 tape from Westmoreland County. We're going to be reviewing it, analyzing it, and I'm not prepared at this point in time to say what was on the tape, but we have taken possession of that tape.
We're trying to get more information from the crash where we've been talking to Paul Van Osdol and Susan Copen about what people saw there in Somerset County to the west of Shanksville. Again, now, Paul, what are you learning?
Well, Scott, we talked to a woman who lives right near the crash scene who actually saw the crash as it occurred. She tells us she saw a plane, a jet, flying along and then make a sharp downward turn and go down at a 90-degree angle straight down into the ground. Then the next thing she saw was a cloud of smoke coming out of the woods where the plane went down. From what we're able to see of the crash scene from video that we've seen out there, there was a large crater in the woods. It was still smoldering, but no signs of anything beyond a few shards of metal that are in the woods. And Rescue officials who've been at the scene tell us there were no sign of any bodies, certainly no survivors at the scene. All they've seen is some debris, and as we said earlier, the FBI has sealed the scene off, declared it a crime scene, and certainly we can understand why they're investigating the crime scene.
Paul, when we talked last, I think you mentioned 911 recordings. Let's go back and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Scott, all we know about that is that apparently the Westmoreland County emergency officials did make a 911 recording. They did get a 911 call, and the FBI has seized that tape. We don't know much more than that, although there has been some speculation that this call may have been from a passenger on the plane that went down.
We know that the 757 that went down here in the Pittsburgh area in Somerset County had 45 people on board, and the witnesses that saw it go down near the intersection of 281 and Route 30 there, some hearing something of a sputter, some saying that they heard something of a blast, but the truck driver on the scene who watched the plane take a 90-degree angle turn and go right down into the trees there said it was just a scene of devastation. And as we look at it again, those on the scene from our vantage point and those that are there, our reporters say there's nothing left that looks like the wreckage of an airplane. Paul, if you can hear me, what are you learning?
Well, Scott, we haven't learned much in the last half hour or so. We're here about a mile or so from the scene, right up this road behind me. If you can see, we've seen emergency vehicles going up there. That is about a mile up that road is where United Flight 93 from Newark to San Francisco, a 757, went down earlier this morning, killing all people on board. Now, we have seen video of the crash scene. The video shows a crater, a smoldering crater, and some debris. Very little evidence of any bodies or anything like that. It's just a few shards of metal around the crash scene, and that's all you can really see from the video there. It was still smoldering as of about a half hour ago, and crews, the emergency crews here, have not allowed us to get any closer than where we are right now. We're waiting for more word on exactly what might have happened. As we reported earlier, there is a 911 tape that has been confiscated by the FBI. This 911 tape was recorded in Westmoreland County. We're not sure exactly what is on that tape, although we've heard reports that it may be a 911 call made from somebody aboard this plane. Again, all we know here at this point is that they're treating this as a crime scene. The FBI is here, the ATF is here, certainly all the local emergency personnel and the state police are here, and they have roped this scene off behind me about a mile back there in the woods as a crime scene. We also talked to a witness, a woman who lives right down the street here, who says she saw the plane go down. She says she saw the plane nose down at about a 90-degree angle, go straight down into the woods, and then she saw a plume of smoke come up out of the woods, and that's all she saw. She went out to the scene immediately and was not able to see any bodies or anything, just basically what we saw in our video, which was that crater out in the middle of the woods.
State police came over with a map to show us exactly where this crash scene is. We are in Stony Creek Township, which is 8 miles east of Somerset Borough. They had an X on the map showing us exactly where the plane went down. We do have video of that from the scene. Basically, all you can see is this gigantic crater in the ground. There was a little bit of fire, at least the video that we had, a little bit of fire coming out of that crater, a little bit of smoke, and it was sort of a fielded area that was flat, not a lot of vegetation, and then it hit a wooded area where the plane went down, where that crater is located. And if you take a look at the trees in that area from the video that I was looking at, the trees are snapped, burned, singed. You can see that there was definitely a massive explosion there. Witnesses say they saw a fireball go about 500, 600 feet up into the air. But the amazing thing is when you take a look at that video and when you talk to these witnesses, people who were there on the scene just seconds, minutes after this plane went down, they said you couldn't even see that a plane went in there. The biggest piece of a plane that they could find was about 5 feet, and that's about it. No sign of any bodies there. No sign of a massive plane is what you think of when you've seen some video in the past of plane crashes.
Susan, do you have any updates? Have you seen any new authorities or officials or investigators arriving by this time?
We are getting periodic updates from officials on the scene. We know state police are here, FBI is here, Red Cross just showed up, Salvation Army on the scene. What we've heard from Betsy Mallison, who's with DEP, she said that they are working right now on setting up a makeshift morgue, and they are also going to be setting up a communication center where all the media can gather and get updates on a regular basis. And she said that they're going to be here throughout the week. They're going to be here for many, many days. And something else that we have confirmed with police in Westmoreland County, They do have a 911 call from a passenger on that plane who called, obviously knowing that the plane had been hijacked. We don't know exactly what is on that tape, but we have confirmed that a 911 call was made from a passenger on that plane before the plane went down.
We've just learned that police are about to hold a news conference where they're going to update us on exactly what they've seen out there at the scene so far. We've also learned that there, from pictures that an individual took at the scene, that the actual size of this crater is 45 or 50 feet wide and about 45 feet deep. But even at that, no sign of any debris that this individual saw at the scene. Now let's look at the sound bites that we got earlier from the individuals who actually witnessed the crash. You're first going to hear from a coal miner.
Working out in front of the shop, what we were doing, and working on a piece of equipment, and we heard this noise in the sky. My friend and I looked up and said, "What's that?" And just going over basically over the horizon of the hill was this plane. It was completely upside down is what it was. The tail fin was down, and it was going in at a sharp ascent, probably more than a 45-degree angle, closer to a 90-degree angle.
I heard the plane sounded extremely low, a lot of noise coming from it, but the engines were running. I then saw the plane coming down at almost a 90-degree angle, maybe an 80-degree angle, and the next thing I saw was a big fireball and smoke. I immediately called 911 as soon as I saw the plane was going to crash.
We saw the plane basically in an inverted position, going in at a steep angle, and knew it was going to hit, and next thing was over the horizon, there was a big, huge fireball.
It was extremely loud to the point where it was almost shaking the windows in my house. And I heard a lot of noise, like screeching or squealing. So you could tell that it wasn't a normal airplane sound.
I am Michelle Wright here, just about a half a mile from the crash scene, along with Mike Clark.
We are in Stony Creek Township. That's right in Shanksville, where the plane went down around 10:01 this morning. The flight left Newark at around 8:01, and from all indications, it is a massive federal investigation behind us, again, about a half a mile from behind us.
It's a very sobering scene here, and I can tell you this, too. There is no, it's not very populated at all. It's a very rural area. We wanted to tell you that. Let's first of all set the scene and tell you what we know right now. This is United Flight number 93. It's
It sounded like normal. Yeah, it sounded like normal plane. It was just flying too low.
Well, it was probably anywhere from 40 to 50 feet above me.
Any strange
sounds? No, it sounded like it was running fine.
And then seconds later, United Airlines Flight 93 crashed into an old strip mine in Stony Creek Township. Lee Purball works at a salvage yard near the crash site. He saw it go down.
It just went straight into the ground. It was in like a...
It was in a dive?
Yeah, well, not a complete dive. It was like coming in like a landing type thing. Big ball of fire, mushroom cloud.
We saw the big fireball and then the big puff of smoke and heard the explosion.
Purball and several co-workers then rushed to the scene, but there were no survivors. The impact left a crater 6 feet deep and debris scattered everywhere.
The biggest piece I found 2 pieces. They were anywhere from 4 to 5 feet.
We have numerous troopers here on site. Our role right now is to preserve what we consider a crime scene.
The 757, carrying 38 passengers and 7 crew members, was headed from Newark to San Francisco. A 911 dispatcher in Greensburg told me he received a cellular phone call at 9:58 Tuesday morning from a man claiming to be a passenger on board the plane. The man said he was in the bathroom and the plane had been hijacked. He repeatedly told the dispatcher it was not a hoax. The caller said he heard an explosion and saw smoke. The phone line went dead.
We have recovered the 911 tape from Westmoreland County. We're going to be reviewing it, analyzing it, and I'm not prepared at this point in time to say what was on the tape, but we have taken possession of that tape.
Anytime. I'm a major with the Pennsylvania State Police. I'm the Area 3 commander. I will tell you what I know right now concerning this incident. Needless to say, this is a great, great tragedy when you couple this with what happens throughout the United States today. For right now, the Pennsylvania State Police have secured the crash site. This crash site is being looked at as a crime scene. It may be too early to say whether this is directly related or not, but until we can rule that out, this is considered a crime scene. As such, we have the scene secured, we have troopers, we have a perimeter set up. I'm bringing in state police horses later on to make sure that no one gets into that site. For right now, we don't have an exact count of how many individuals may have perished in this airplane crash. We're still waiting for confirmation, so rather than give you false or misleading information, when I find that number out, I will let you know. Standing next to me, I have Wells Morrison. He is with the FBI Mon Valley office. The FBI, since this may be an act of terrorism, has primary jurisdiction. We are assisting the FBI.
Right now I want to bring in our reporter Paul Van Osdol, and I want to ask you this, first of all. What were the first impressions of the people who got to the scene first?
Well, Michelle, we talked to some people, and they really thought it was some sort of a crash, some sort of an accident. They rushed to the scene after hearing the explosion, and what really struck one of the people we talked to was the fact that rescue personnel were being shooed away from the scene by police. And after listening to the news conference earlier this afternoon, we were able to understand why. Emergency crews were on the scene within minutes of the crash, but it quickly turned from a rescue operation into a criminal investigation.
For right now, the Pennsylvania State Police have secured the crash site. This crash site is being looked at as a crime scene.
One critical piece of evidence was not at the scene.
We have recovered a 911 tape that was placed into Westmoreland County, into 911 Center, and we're going to be reviewing that tape and analyzing it.
Craig Conroy is an aviation expert. What is going on now 2 miles behind us at this crash scene?
Well, the NTSB will be on board doing everything, obviously looking for those black boxes as well as the decontamination of the site because of the carnage that's there. There's obviously the chance of contamination.
Yes, at this point, we're not prepared to say it's an act of terrorism, even though it does appear to be that.
We're going to be getting more information just in the next few minutes. A news conference is set to get underway right over here. We should be getting an update from state police, from the FBI, and we're told that Governor Ridge is on his way here to the scene as well. So we should be hearing the latest on the official version of events. And Michelle and Mike, it's really a horrific scene out there, and we just certainly want to get more information out to people as to exactly what happened, and hopefully we'll be getting more of that shortly.
Here just about a half a mile from the crash scene, along with Mike Clark.
We are in Stony Creek Township. That's right in Shanksville, where the plane went down around 10:01 this morning. The flight left Newark at around 8:01, and from all indications, it is a massive federal investigation behind us. Again, about a half a mile from behind us.
It's a very sobering scene here, and I can tell you this too. There is no it's not very populated at all. It's a very rural area. We wanted to tell you that. Let's first of all set the scene and tell you what we know right now. This is United Flight number 93. It's a huge Boeing 757. It left Newark, New Jersey about 8:01 this morning. Then about 10 o'clock, a passenger dialed 911.
That call came to the Westmoreland County 911 office, and it came from a passenger who locked himself inside the bathroom on board. And from all indications, that tape has been confiscated by the FBI. That is a key to the investigation tonight. Our first reporter on the scene was Marcy Cipriani. She's going to join us right now to tell us what she saw at the crash site. It is a very unusual site.
Yes, I was actually at the site just about 30 minutes ago. I boarded a bus with state police, went down this road behind you, and for the very first time, we took a look at where that plane crashed. The crash site is 2 miles down a dirt access road behind what used to be an old abandoned strip mine called Diamond T. From our vantage point, a quarter of a mile away and hours after the early morning crash, you can still see the site smoking and the investigation, the details still coming in.
There's nothing in the ground there that you could see. If you went down there, it would look like a trash yard. There's nothing but tiny pieces of debris.
According to State Police Captain Frank Monaco, they believe the plane was traveling southwest when he hit just behind me and created an 8 to 10 foot deep hole. Police also tell me most of that debris, though, ended up in the woods behind me. In those woods are where the FBI says lie their answers.
It's a lot of pieces of metal and aluminum and whatever the case may be, fabric.
A scene more visible moments after the crash when nearby residents ran to the scene, taking these telling pictures in disbelief.
No. I just was in the area and I heard a boom and I followed the smoke over to the crash site and came upon this.
Very amazing pictures 7 hours after that crash site, Mike and Michelle.
It really is incredible, and what stark contrast it is to the pictures we're seeing in New York with all the smoke and the flames. The crash scene here is so different. It's just a massive hole to prove the deaths of those 40 people.
Are authorities talking to you at all about why there was not the smoke that we saw in New York?
No, actually, they're being pretty tight-lipped about that. However, the FBI says they are looking at this as if it were a terrorist attack. That is about as much as they're saying with us right now.
My name is Lyle Papinka. I'm a major.
We take our responsibility very seriously, and the prime responsibility of the Pennsylvania State Police is scene security and to assist the FBI in any way that we can with this investigation. To that end, we have approximately 130 troopers working a day shift and approximately 150 troopers working a night shift to ensure that only authorized personnel are allowed at the crime scene. In addition to that, we also have the mounted unit, our helicopter units, and other personnel from the Pennsylvania State Police to ensure security as well as to assist the FBI with their forensic search. As Agent Covington said, we expect to be here several weeks, and our commitment is to make sure that the sanctity of this place where 45 souls were lost, as well as the possibility of gaining critical evidence to solve crimes too heinous to even discuss or think about, is accomplished.
As mounted state police patrol through the early morning hours, crews work to refuel much-needed cruisers and other emergency vehicles. At 7 o'clock, a long-awaited shift change.
Right now, the sky is lighting up and burning off all of the fog that's been surrounding us all night long. We've seen quite a few state troopers in there getting ready to do what they need to do today.
To get the trailer out here with the pickup, but then we're going to need to use the pickup truck to get all the supplies back from down the hill.
The pile of food near this canteen grows by the hour, all donated by people in the community. Besides physical nourishment, volunteers also offer emotional support to police and others on the scene.
Many of them are just going to need a hug, somebody to hold on to, somebody just to talk to. So we're going to be there for that also.
You know, Mike, Michelle, I'm sure you've heard people say, a lot of people have told me that the one thing that keeps them going through all of this is thinking about the outpouring of support and just the depth of human emotion and kindness here that people are showing.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. And may God bless America. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Michelle Wright is standing by live. And Michelle, you have just toured the crash scene, getting as close as reporters are being allowed to get.
And it's incredible, Scott and Sally. I can tell you it is so surreal there. We went up just at sunset, and there's absolutely no activity. It's very peaceful. We are in the farmlands here in Somerset County, very rural. And as we went there, on the outskirts, they've cordoned off a several-mile area radius there for people not to get in the way of the investigation.
All the stuff in our yards, the lake from the airplane. The FBI had stopped at my house and sealed me off, but so
they said not to touch it.
You want to call somebody? Command post.
Well, I gave them a whole batch this morning, and they said, "Did you touch it?" I said, "How else would I pick it up?"
Let me call. Right?
Hazmat. Yeah, well, we didn't know not to touch. Where are you at?
Lambert.
We're in Lambertsville.
Lambertsville Road, post 17.
Post 17, go ahead.
The state police also told us when we were touring the scene that immediately lots of local fire companies came. But there was a fire and lots of smoke. The smoke was seen for miles, and fire companies responded immediately. But now, as I said, hundreds and hundreds of people here on the scene. They will be here for a very long time. We will be here all night long, updating you on information, as well as all of the state troopers and the FAA and FBI agents. They will all be here.
Family members began leaving items at the crash site during their first visit here Tuesday. On Thursday, more family members arrived, and they left even more items. 200 yards from the crash site, friends and relatives have turned this hillside into a shrine of photos, flowers, and letters. Jeremy Glick's family placed a poster of St. Louis Cardinals slugger Mark McGwire drinking milk, Glick's favorite drink. Glick was one of the passengers who apparently took on the hijackers. Family members left messages on the poster. Hope you're smiling now that you are America's greatest hero. We are so proud to be your family. You are America's hero and ours. A collage of photos of flight attendant Debbie Welsh, signed "We love you, Debbie." Wonderful daughter, sister, wife, aunt, friend, and a true patriot. Among the sea of flowers, a handwritten note from a child to Joey Nackey. Uncle Joe, you are a true hero. You should see how nice everyone is. They thank you for saving them. Love, Justin. An American flag for Lauren Grancolis with the message, the memories of you and the life you led and the courage you had will help us go on. We love you and miss you with all our hearts. And a letter to a father. Dear Dad, thank you for the life you gave me, nourished, and will continue to do so. All of the items, the cards and letters and flowers and photos, will be placed in a vault, and that vault will then be buried at the crash site. In Somerset County, Rick Earl, Channel 11 News. Work crews drained a 2-acre holding pond near the crash site, searching for more pieces of the plane, personal belongings, and human remains. This video from Chopper 11 taken the day after the crash shows debris scattered around the pond, and investigators believe some of the debris went into the water. As crews drained the pond, investigators in protective suits used rakes to sift through the dirt at the crater caused by the crash. Somerset County Coroner Wallace Miller says his office is making progress.
We have made 4 positive identifications, and families have been notified, but I'd rather not get into any of the particulars on that for reasons you could imagine.
Miller won't say who's been identified. He says he used dental records and fingerprints to make the positive IDs. He says the FBI has now mandated that DNA tests be performed on all of the remains, so he's asked family members to provide hairbrushes and toothbrushes used by the victims. He says the testing will be done at a U.S. military lab.
It's a time-consuming process in the sense that we have so many samples. We're doing that with every victim, with every sample. Every sample of every person on that plane is going to be tested. What to do.
As investigators continue searching for pieces of the plane and human remains, family members of the victims have been visiting the crash site.
They did leave some flowers, they left some photographs, and they left United States flag, which they said was for all those who had perished, not just their family member.
On Friday night, just before 11 o'clock, the FBI rushed the cockpit voice recorder to the National Transportation Safety Board in Washington, D.C. It was discovered around 8:25 Friday night, buried 25 feet deep in the crater caused by the crash.
It was described as investigators who recovered it as being in fairly good condition. We're obviously very hopeful that it'll help immensely in the investigation.
In a crash such as this, there is extreme fragmentation. No remains that we have seen are complete. And
forensic anthropologist Dr. Dennis Dirkmet says so far he's discovered only bone fragments. But he says using DNA, x-rays, and dental records, he's confident that all of the victims will be positively identified. The Somerset County coroner says it will take time.
We do understand that these are individuals, and we do understand that they are loved ones, people who are missed. We are sympathetic to that, but yet we are obligated to their memory and also to the families to be as meticulous as possible.
As investigators continue searching, investigators combing the wreckage Thursday afternoon discovered the flight data recorder. It was found in the 8-foot deep crater caused when the plane crashed into this abandoned strip mine Tuesday morning.
It is now being loaded to be sent to the NTSB by an NTSB representative and a representative of the FBI.
According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the flight data recorder monitors the plane's operating conditions, including time, altitude, airspeed, and direction. Investigators can use that data to generate a computer-animated video reconstruction of the flight. The flight data recorder was found near the crash site, but residents as far as 8 miles away have discovered debris from the plane.
So we went outside, and that's when we found these papers. We have a lot of papers from Morgan Stanley. There's some kind of material. The one is very brittle, and the other one is soft. Someone felt this was from the pilot's flight book. And then there's papers from magazines. There's an auction, paper of items on the auction.
Melanie Hankinson discovered the scorched papers with California addresses and a United Airlines magazine in the woods behind her home in New Baltimore, 8 miles from the crash site. She called the FBI.
They determined that it was all things that would, very light materials, such as paper, nylon, thin nylon, and things that would, if in the air with the wind, would easily blow.
Investigators combing